A New Moon. As the party continued to rest in the Step Pyramid stronghold of the Air Temple, Leilune took up her customary place, back to the wall and facing the nearest access point of the room. Legs crossed and her staff by her side, she pored over her book of shadows that rested upon her lap, her vision unhindered by the poor light in the room due to her devil's sight. As she read the mystical texts, her fingers traced slowly over the glowing script of a water-breathing ritual she planned to use during their impending foray into the water temple, whilst listening to the even breathing of her friends as they slept. Sleep. Leilune reflected for a moment on all those hours lost to sleep before she learned how to live without it, blessed by the light of Saloon. What she wouldn't have given to live without sleep in Waterdeep, where thief-taking always fetched a pretty penny, and sleeping with one eye open was always recommended. A low, purr-like snore jerked her back to her senses. Muezza was clearly dreaming. Leilune's eyes were drawn to where she saw movement in his breeches before she averted them again. Whatever Muezza was dreaming, he could keep it to himself. Leilune blinked as if her eyes had just been soiled and groped for the comfort of her staff before resting on something cool and alien. Turning, she saw that the spear, Windvane, was lying next to her staff, and that she had taken hold of that instead. Strange. She did not remember recovering it from their bag of holding, but there it was in her hand, the silver haft gleaming in the half-light. Unperturbed, she grasped it with purpose, so as to inspect it. The silver weapon was effortless to hold, like wielding a switch, accompanied by a strange sensation of a cool breeze. Leilune shook her head as if trying to focus her senses. For all its sleek beauty, the spear had a dark secret revealed by the ritual of identity. Fickle as the wind would be the one who joined to this weapon. Her gaze fell on the snoring Muezza once more. And yet, fickle isn't always a bad thing, is it? And surely being aware of the flaw would mean it held less power. She argued these points within her consciousness, and her rational side was slowly eroded away, losing any power to dissuade her from the inevitable choice. A silver weapon to ward off attack from a lycanthrope, she told herself. And the language of air at my command. What, aren't I Eluskan? A spear-wielding maiden on the back of a flying beast is almost a Northlander tradition. Setting aside her tome, Leilune clasped both hands around the cool metal shaft and closed her eyes, reaching out with her senses as she attempted to attune to Windvane. Unlike previous attunements Leilune had attempted, this felt very different. Her mind wandered on strange paths, and always it was night, the stars the only light by which to find her way. Then the stars went out. In their place was nothing. Oblivion. She was a memory, and she would fade and be forgotten.
Ah, one has been confronted with the truth.
Leilune's consciousness tried to focus. A voice? Leilune? Lady, is that you? Lady, I have come unto...
I am not your lady. I am your king.
Leilune stiffened. If she could feel fear in this strange place, then she knew she would be terrified. However, she felt the words wash over her in calm acceptance. You are my king.
Indeed, yet another stupid soul has traded their life to walk in the shadow of a weakling. Where is your god now? You are abandoned.
The weight of the words hit Leilune hard because she knew it to be true. Where was Saloon through all her trials and tribulations? She tried to speak, but no further words would come from her.
Yet,
the voice dripped with menace, but laced with oh so much opportunity.
I am the saviour of lost souls. I am the giver of purpose. I am the maker of instruments, and I require you to play a melody in my great scheme.
Leilune was captivated. A chance to make a difference. Leilune had never offered her as much. But when?
Now, fool!
He could hear my thoughts. The great voice rumbled in a perverse form of divine laughter.
Ah, mortals, so naive. You think you are in control of your comings and goings, and yet it has all been prescribed for you. You must make but one choice. Accept my offer, and rise from your musings, or reject it, and remain forever in your vapid sleepwalk, abandoned by the one you thought would offer you redemption.
Leilune hesitated, but the offer was hard to resist. She had but one question. Who are you, great king? And the terrible laughter resumed once more before becoming a great screeching call to arms laden with madness.
I am the chained god. I am the elder elemental I. I am Tharizdun.
Leilune reeled at the revelation. Tharizdun? How could that be? Had she wandered so far in this dream? No, that wasn't right. She rarely dreamed, even before the gift of waking rest. Her thoughts too fixed and tied to reason to idly roam. So where had she been stolen away to? The crushing presence in her mind was almost overpowering. It knew her fear, her weakness, to be left alone in the dark, abandoned, helpless and without hope. A memory both old and new. No, that sense of wrongness again. There were other memories buried beneath the fear, hard to grasp, but there all the same. If she could only find the thread and pull. Wouldn't it be easier to give in though? And in return, power. Power enough to make choices without having to bend to the whims of others. No, a fool's choice. Enslaved to this being, bought off with the trappings of power and given the semblance of free will. She'd seen the air prophet's face in her final moments, a horrid realization upon it as she was abandoned to her fate. But you do crave a purpose, don't you, Leilune? You need to know your worth in the world. You want to solve its puzzles. Just accept. Give in. No. No. No! My lady's light will save me as it did before. Leilune began to feel the presence of Tharizdun recede, and then suddenly grow in intensity, as it made one final attempt to rest her soul. She screamed in agony, but instead of an empty cry came words she uttered in clear rejection of the chained god. Moon Maiden, I am yours, always. Deliver me from this place. As she reeled from her rejection of vile Tharizdun, her mind's eye caught, for but a fleeting moment, an image of a bright pair of eyes of a darkly beautiful human-looking woman, encircled by 7 silver stars. This diminished and receded to be replaced by the glow of a full moon, the benevolent light of which radiated upon Leilune's soul, and the young Warlock knew that her goddess was pleased. Leilune woke with a start, and realised she had passed out. She quickly admonished herself for putting her companions at risk, and noticed she was still clasping the haft of Windbane. She had chosen the weapon, but not chosen to serve its vile patron. As she began to examine it, she suddenly noticed that her skin had developed a quality similar to that of alabaster, or perhaps the surface of the moon. And why did her vision seem blurry? She tried to focus and soon mastered what she was able to see, both here and beyond the material realm. Considering these gifts, Leilune stood to examine herself and felt her confidence grow, realizing that Selûne had favored her and that she was on the right path. She would not serve the Elder Elemental Eye. She would use every sinew in her body to destroy it and all that stood in her way. Thank you for listening to the progress of my Dungeons & Dragons group as they make their way through the Princes of the Apocalypse campaign setting. Watch out for further episodes, where we shall see the party make their tentative way into the Water Temple and rouse the crushing wave.